They said I was just a secretary, not a manager, not a strategist, not someone who would ever matter in a billion-dollar company, just a secretary. But what they didn't know was that one day I would become the person who signs the document ending the career of the CEO who said it. And when that day came, he didn't even recognize me at first. My name is Emily Carter. I joined Ashton Group at 23 years old, fresh graduate, no powerful family, no connections, no shortcuts, just ambition and survival. Ashton Group was one of the biggest corporate giants in the city. Glass towers, marble floors, expensive suits, and people who spoke about millions like it was pocket change. And at the very top of it all was Richard Hale, the CEO, charismatic, cold, calculated, the kind of man who didn't raise his voice because he never needed to. People feared him and still tried to impress him. I didn't, because I wasn't even on his radar. My job title was simple: secretary. Emails, scheduling, calls, documents, coffee runs, meeting notes. I was the person people forgot 5 seconds after they saw me. And at first, I accepted it, because I needed the job. But everything changed the day I walked into that boardroom. It was an urgent meeting, high-level executives, $1 million deal being discussed. I knocked once and entered quietly, holding a stack of documents. Richard didn't even look at me properly. He just said, "Put it there." Then after a pause, he added, "And next time, send someone who actually understands business, not support staff." A few people laughed. Not loud, not obvious, just enough to make me feel smaller without anyone admitting it. One executive leaned toward another and whispered, "She's just a secretary." That sentence should have been meaningless, but something inside me changed that day. Not anger, clarity, because I finally understood something about that world. They didn't see people. They saw roles, and roles can be replaced. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't complain. I didn't quit. Instead, I opened my laptop and I started studying business strategy, corporate finance, leadership structures, mergers, acquisitions, market behavior, company failures. While others rested, I learned. While others partied, I studied. And while others ignored Ashton Group's internal problems, I documented them. Every mistake, every weak decision, every hidden vulnerability. I saw things they didn't see because I wasn't distracted by power. I was studying it. Weeks turned into months. I became invisible in the office, but active everywhere else. I started building knowledge networks outside the company. Former employees who were pushed out, consultants who had worked with Ashton Group before, analysts who understood its weaknesses, quiet conversations, late-night research, hidden connections. I wasn't just learning anymore. I was building something no one noticed. Meanwhile, Ashton Group started to crack. A failed overseas expansion, a major partnership collapse, internal lawsuits, sudden resignations of key executives. The company was bleeding slowly, but visibly. And Richard Hale, he became more aggressive, more impatient. He started blaming departments instead of solving problems, firing people over mistakes he didn't understand, shouting in meetings when plans failed. But the truth was simple. He wasn't losing control of people. He was losing control of the system. And I was watching everything, quietly, patiently. Then came the moment everything shifted. A private investment group entered the market. They were looking for one thing, a struggling giant they could take over and restructure. And somehow, I got invited into their radar. At first, I didn't understand why. I was just an employee, just a secretary. But they had been observing something I didn't even realize I was doing. My internal reports, my analysis of company inefficiencies, my predictions about failing departments, my understanding of Ashton Group's structure. They didn't see a secretary. They saw someone who understood the company better than most executives inside it. And they made me an offer. Not for a job, for a role. To help them take control of Ashton Group. The takeover didn't happen overnight. It took months of negotiations, financial positioning, and silent restructuring. And I stayed in the shadows the entire time. Still the secretary, still invisible, until the day everything changed. The emergency board meeting was called without warning. Senior executives gathered in confusion. Richard Hale arrived last as usual, confident, calm, still believing he controlled everything. He walked into the room and froze for half a second. Because I was there, sitting at the table, not near the exit, not in the corner, at the main table, next to the investors. His eyes narrowed. Then he laughed slightly, confused, almost amused, and he said, "What is she doing here?" One of the board members responded calmly, "She represents the new ownership structure." Silence. The room changed instantly. The air felt heavier. Richard's expression didn't change at first. He just stared. Then he said, "This is ridiculous. She's just a secretary." That word again, secretary, like it defined me forever. So I stood up, slowly, and looked directly at him. For the first time, he looked uncertain. And I said, "No, I was a secretary." I placed a folder on the table and slid it toward him. He opened it, read the first page, then the second. Then his expression changed. Confusion, then disbelief, then realization. Inside the folder were official documents, termination papers, and restructuring orders. His name was listed under removed executive leadership. He looked up, slowly, like the world was collapsing without sound. And I said, "Effective immediately, your role as CEO is terminated." No shouting, no argument, no dramatic reaction from the room, just silence. The kind of silence that ends careers. Richard leaned back slightly, like he couldn't process what he was hearing. And for the first time in his life, he had no power in his voice. Security was called. He didn't resist. He didn't argue. Because deep down, he understood. The company he built no longer belonged to him. As he walked out, he turned once and looked at me, really looked at me, like he finally saw me for who I was. Not a secretary, not invisible,